Hello. I'm in a different area with like a different sound setup and stuff. Sorry about the weird lighting. My husband is out of town, so I am upstairs so that I can make sure that I can keep an eye on the children while we're having this live discussion of Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 3 of the Stormlight Archive. I'm still waiting on co-host Casey to join in real quick, but she should be here in just a minute. So while we're seeing if she's going to make it with us today, how about we start with an icebreaker? Let's see, who is your favorite character in Oathbringer? If you were reading that with us, let us know. If there's a character that maybe grew on you a little in this book, I think Dalinr probably grew on me in book 3. But I also feel like Brandon Sanderson has done a really good job making sure that you pretty much have a reason to love most of the characters at this point. You have a reason to root for most of them, unless you're not meant to root for them, in which case he's very good at making people awful individuals. Let's see. I should probably get a YouTube tab up just to make sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to go. I think the way that we're going to do this discussion this time is pretty much the way we did it last time. We're going to have some non-spoilery discussions here at the start to make sure that anybody who maybe hasn't finished the book yet doesn't get spoiled on things that happen at the end. Then we'll go kind of character by character through a lot of discussion of the plot and the different world building that we saw in book 3. And then from there, we'll move into kind of how the book wrapped up and how we think it's going to go in Rhythm of War, which Casey, of course, has already finished. I am the turtle reader of the server. I acknowledge this. But yes, I think Dalinr definitely grew on me in this one. I was not a fan of Dalinr in the first book, and in the second book, it was like, okay, kind of starting to come around, and it was probably purely based off of the fact that Kaladin was not a fan of him for a really long time. Then, of course, and also, like, we're gonna do our best to keep away from spoilers in other worlds of the Cosmere, like Mistborn and Elantris, but I cannot obviously guarantee that there aren't going to be spoilers for previous books in the Stormlight Archive series, because we are here to discuss the third book, which means that we are something like 4,000 pages into the series, and there's just not a way to avoid the spoilers, 4,000 pages into a book series. It's not going to happen. So yes, we will be doing our best to avoid spoilers from other worlds, but let's see. Lopen and Pattern. I have really enjoyed how they developed Pattern in this one, and of course Lopen is always just great. I originally thought that the novella that comes between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War was going to be about Lopen for some reason, but now I'm thinking Sammy was reading it a little bit and came across that she thinks it's actually about Rysson, who only appears in the interludes, really, of Oathbringer. But yeah, Lopen is brilliant. He's hilarious. And Pattern is just... he's so funny. He's so funny. The way that he's so curious about the world is hilarious. I love it. Um, yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we see. I like that we're seeing Bridge 4 kind of expand as a character arc all its own. I know we saw a lot of growth from Teft in this book that I was really not expecting, and that was cool to see. And I think probably like okay, here's a fun question. If you could visit a place on Roshar, I want to know where you would go, because if every Herdazian is as hilarious as the Herdazians that are featured in these books, I want to go to Herdaz because it just seems like they would be great for a laugh. They're hilarious. And they brought up a good point, which we can't get too far into this because it's spoilery, but I'm starting to become intrigued as to how all the different races have evolved on Roshar, and Herdaz in particular. Lopen has like the really strong nails. I'm curious as to how that might actually get put to use, or why it's beneficial to have nails like that when living in Herdaz. I think I'd probably steer clear of Alucard, to be honest, because it's so. There's such a wartime people, and of course, nobody would want to really go near the Shattered Plains. Those are all places that seem very not safe. Let's see. Is this the episode? Listen to me. Is this the book where Pattern is trying to help Adolin and Shallan with their courtship in Urithiru? I can't remember if it was. I'm pretty sure it's in this one because we spend this whole book in Urithiru, and they've just discovered it in Words of Radiance. So, yeah, the parts where he was watching Adolin and Shallan to make sure they were being appropriate with their courtship was laugh out loud funny, honestly. It was so funny. And then I feel like Lopen didn't get as much page time in this one, did he? In Oathbringer. I know that we ended Words of Radiance with him because we were seeing him be able to seeing him able to sorry, I got distracted. We saw him at the end of Words of Radiance starting to become more radiant, right? And then, but this is the book also where he was trying to show the other recruits how to use their surge binding and got stuck to the ground. No mating, yes. Oh, Catherine, I think it's so fun that your husband has read this book with you. Casey's in the stream with us, and I'm gonna wait until she gets her camera sorted, I think, to pop her in here. It looks like she might be having some technical difficulties. But yes, no mating. Yes. That was good. That was good. And then when Lopen was like sweet talking the ground, convincing the ground that he was not going to leave her for the air. I died. I died. He was the one who turned me on to Sanderson. That's brilliant. I love that. My husband listened to Ready Player One on audiobook and then got me kind of hooked on that. And I've been trying to find other audiobooks to get him to listen to with me, and it's just, he refuses to do it.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I totally got the time zone wrong, and I was sending in stuff for like work, and I was like, oh my god, because I just had closed this computer. Okay. I'm here. Sorry, everybody, I'm late, but I really enjoyed reading Oathbringer.
Yeah, we were just talking about Lopen and Pattern. Catherine was talking about how her husband got her into Sanderson. So I always think it's fun when couples read together because my husband doesn't read. And I'm always like, you should read this book with me. And he's like, I don't enjoy that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but Roshar is really cool. And he's like, it's literally 1,000 pages. I'm not going to do that. Like, come on.
I'm trying to fix this lighting because I'm just not. My life is clearly not together today. I'm going to close my door, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's no problem. I probably close this for you guys too and be fine. I've got another like bigger window over here though, so I'm not going to be able to fix that light. Anyway, yes. Lopen and Pattern were definitely hilarious in this book. There was a lot of laughing in this book. I think Sanderson was really exercising his comedy muscles with this one, I think.
Yes, I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah, he was definitely about like making people laugh, which makes sense because this, like, the drama in this book, holy crap, like, he had to counterbalance it with something, right? Because the world is literally on fire.
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of those things where it was almost like a coping mechanism for the other characters to just have this, especially with Lopen, the comic relief, so to speak.
Yes.
Find that in the next book. It's just really dark.
Oh man,
there's definitely still like funny moments in the next book, but yeah, this one, there's still like hope in this one for sure.
Well, and that's what I definitely saw headed towards the end, was that maybe Rhythm of War wasn't going to be as lighthearted. But crap, I had a funny part in my head. No, wait, Adolin taking them to his tailor was like, of course you did. Of course you took them to your tailor. And just the fact that was a running joke throughout the book. Like, he continually is just like, I liked this coat. This got ruined. I really like this jacket. He was funny. And I was telling them too that like Adolin kind of grew on me in this book. I had not really cared for Adolin in the past too, except for like towards the end of Words of Radiance when he like locked himself in prison with Kaladin and all that. Was like, yeah, okay, you're probably fine then. But in this book it was like, oh, he's so like, I just want to pinch his cheeks. He's so cute. And then as you find out more about like his upbringing, and of course we're kind of going into spoiler territory now, but finding out more about his upbringing and the kind of father that Dalinr was versus the kind of mother that Adolin had, which is a lot of what you explore in this book, was like, oh my god, he's just so sweet.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was muted for a second because I was getting the YouTube up and I wanted to make sure I didn't like get to create the loop back. So I commented and people started talking and all of that. But did you already discuss like how like your overall rating of this book, or because that can still be like just a general like favorite funny moment or something like that, because that can still be in the non-spoiler territory.
Right. Yeah. No, we hadn't gotten to that yet. We were just sort of ice breaking with favorite characters and just discussing the book in general. I don't know if I said this while you were on camera already or not, but the part where Lopen is trying to train the other people and gets stuck to the fucking ground, I rolled that whole time because he's just like casually still talking to the ground in the background while there's this other serious conversation happening.
Well, yeah, so I was listening, but I was like walking around my room.
Yeah,
so I wasn't like on camera at that point. But yeah, that was just really funny. Yeah, Lopen is great, and Pattern is just such a funny, like Spren. Yeah, something, whatever he is, he's just hilarious.
No mating.
Something like that.
No mating.
No mating, no mating. Well, yeah, the whole part where they get to explain like why they would need a chaperone ordinarily was just so funny to me.
Yeah,
so.
he's like, oh, I see.
Yes.
He's
Like,
so
no mating. This is good.
Yeah. And then we talked a little bit about how like Bridge 4 is sort of becoming its own arc altogether, right? So, and because they're paid like in part 2, there's a point of view that Sanderson says we're going to talk about Shallan and Yazda, Dalinr, and Bridge 4, and I was like, oh, Bridge 4, like because we get to see so many of these people.
Yes, I like that Brandon made that choice to kind of give that way we can, because there's so many of them, it would be hard to have like full chapters dedicated to each person, because I'd love a full chapter dedicated to Rock. We really don't need that.
We kind of got one though, right? Because we saw his family get there, and like I was doing the dishes whenever, and I know that we're going past the review part. I'm sorry, but this part in particular, like I was listening to the audiobook and was doing the dishes, and I listened to that, and I was like, wait, did that just happen? And then I like stopped doing the dishes and went and got my book and reread that chapter, and I was like, I'm so happy for him.
Yes, for sure. So I mean, we do get like bigger. Rock was probably not the best example from Bridge 4 to get a full perspective on, but because I think we do get multiple things from him. But I like that they gave us like that way we could kind of focus in on the dynamic of Bridge 4, because they're one of my favorite parts of the series, if we're being honest. I have the big poster from Brando Sando over there from the Kickstarter.
Oh my God. So like this book right here had me going back to that Kickstarter survey. Like, oh my God, maybe I can still get no, it's closed out already. I can't get the poster. I should have gotten the poster. What was I thinking?
You got the full leather-bound book, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I got the leather-bound book. It's coming in 2 parts, and then like the ebook of Dawn Shard and stuff. But like after I did that, I was like, I can't really put more money into it, but I should have sprung for the poster. I didn't know how much I was going to really love Bridge 4 until too late.
Yeah, I it's just like over. I can see it like from my bed. Not that I'm staring at Kaladin or anything, but, but it's like it's a nice poster, so it's good. Yeah. We're in a new filming spot today because I didn't have my life together and I was in my room when I opened my computer, but this is the books I haven't read behind me, so it's just an overwhelming amount of books.
I would love to have a TBR shelf, just like a full shelf of my TBRs. So I haven't done the call pile yet, which is something I'm going to try to start doing more this year. But I'm pretty sure, like, I don't see how Oathbringer couldn't be a 5-star. There was one part of it that I was like, really? Like, that's the way that's going to go down? But that's like a later discussion because it's major spoilers. But I mean, for the most part, it was good. I tried to have mine like over here somewhere, but the light was directly.
Oh, he's too floppy though. Will he stand? You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. But no, I think Oathbringer, when I first read it and when I reread it again this year, it was definitely still a 4-star for me. And I can tell you exactly why. I don't love just the repetition that we get with parts of Dalinr where he's trying to just get everybody to join his team, because it's basically like through the use of the visions repeatedly and like his weird whatever the note messaging thing is called, I forget.
The Span Reads,
yeah. So like that whole interaction is just like in my brain I associated. Elliot Brooks said it this way, and now I can't like unexperience it that way. By the way, if y'all want Cosme videos, she's fantastic to watch. She's very fun. But she's like, it's like he's just texting them and like FaceTiming them over and over and over again, and it's just very repetitive. And like, so when she explained it that way, and I was like, oh, that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, I can see how that would be.
Dalinr is definitely not a character I love in general. So that might be why for me, and some people love the character work in this book, and I will admit it's very good. But for me, it's just like I really don't love him, so I'm like, why do we have to spend all this time with him? So that's where I come from with that. But I loved the book. Obviously, I've read it twice now, and it's like 1,300 pages. So there's no way I don't love it. It's just one of those things. It's like, if I have to reread only one book of the series, it's not going to be this one.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I liked being in Dalinar's head a little bit because we got more of the. So like with Kaladin, whenever he becomes radiant, it kind of like it makes sense, right? Because we've seen him through all this treachery and all this growth and all this movement. And he's someone who you're like, man, yes, he deserves superpowers. Mm-hmm. But then as we see Dalinr getting his superpowers, we're seeing that he's actually like on a redemption arc, which is not what we thought he was going into all of this, you know? So we start to kind of see him building out this redemption arc. And I actually really liked how it played out in the end, which again, super spoilery, but like Sammy and I were talking about this particular thing that Sanderson tends to do with his books that I didn't like. And Dalinr ended up kind of nixing that for me. So I've got a little bit of a soft spot for him.
That makes definite sense. I don't know. I feel like we could go into spoilers so you can tell me exactly.
Well, so like
spoiler zone. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So like Sanderson has this, you know, like he's doing this Cosmere thing. He's got these greater intelligences, right? And they're always working on these smaller planetary beings. And with his other two series, we kind of saw a lack of character agency that I did not like. It was like, oh, okay, they're not responsible for what they're doing. It's actually just these other beings who are like, you know, acting upon these planetary species. And with Dalinr, whenever it came to Odium and he was like, it's okay, just give me your pain, like it'll all be fine. And I was going, God damn it, not again. You know, like, don't do this again. And then Dalinr stands up and is like, nope, that was my choice. It was ultimately me who did it. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. So I can continue with this and not be pissed off that I'm actually just reading a story about these gods through the perspective of these people who are, you know, being acted upon by them or whatever.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I really did like that moment, and it was very powerful. And I really did like the, and I was very shocked when I read it the first time, like what Dalinr actually did and all that stuff surrounding Evie
Evie. Oh my God, that was hard. That was hard to watch.
And I'm like, okay. I had gotten hinting that there was like a redemption arc for him coming, just because every time we would get like mentions of Galavar's death, it was like because he was drunk, and I was like, why was he like this? So I was like, he did a thing clearly, but I did enjoy the exploration of. I really enjoyed Dalinr's character work in this book. I just was not a humongo fan of the like just repeatedly trying to get everybody on his side. Like I was like, okay, he could have done this like, and I get why, because it was him kind of exploring his new powers that he had, and kind of just having to convince people he wasn't, especially when we got the full picture of like why people didn't trust him because of like what the Blackthorn really meant.
Yeah.
Like I get it, but I'm also like, but when you're reading it, for me, especially on the reread, I was like,
move along. Yeah, well, and I do enjoy the fact that we got to see Dalinr be forced into having that political interaction, because as we're finding more about him, we're seeing that this is actually the part of things that he hates, but like he's willing to do it because he doesn't want to be that person again. So it was okay, but like it was dry. It was the drier parts of the book. I also feel like though, no matter who it would have been doing it, like unless maybe it was Yasna because she's just snappy, I think it would have been boring.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the dry part of the book. You know, it's the gathering of the team. It's the getting everyone together politically. And it's the part of it that's kind of like, oh, where's the fighting? But I think probably it would have been that way regardless of who was doing it. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. So you and your hubby both gave it 4 stars. I feel you, Catherine.
I like that you point out that you got to see like the bigger war at stake instead of just like the little camps like we were seeing before. You know, like we were kind of existing within these 9 or 10 war camps instead of like the overall or overarching country dynamics.
So I don't know if I have much more to say about Dalinr at this point, but I'm just thinking we could chat about a different character because there's a lot of characters to get through in this book. Yeah. Like when you put in the Discord, I need to talk about like these people and then like Moash. I was like,
oh my god, dude! He was like, I was like, man, come on, like you can get past this, you can get through this, and then again, I know I'm going back to the Dalinr thing, but it was like as soon as he admitted like, these are my choices, I accept this, it immediately became really difficult for me to justify Moash's shit. You know, it's like, you're being acted on by Odium too, but Dalinr doesn't have that excuse, so you don't get it either. And you killed Elhokar while he was holding his baby, so...
While he was about to say the freaking ideal.
Yes, and Kaladin had to sit there and watch it, and I was like, no, why is it happening this way? Yeah, you were just starting to like Elhokar. It's like he was just starting to become a decent person.
That's why it's so painful with Elhokar, because he is being redeemed. He was like actually trying to like seriously be like someone who solves problems and like actually understand his role. Like he'd given like in some of his like power, so to speak, to Dalinr. Like, he understands what's really at stake and all of that. And then the scene is so sad.
It was so sad. And I hated to see that particular scene. I hated to see Kaladin freeze. Because it was like, no, you can fix it. You always fix it. Don't freeze. Not right now. Not in this moment. It was like,
yeah. It was painful, and we definitely get to see some of Kaladin's like PTSD issues explored in such greater detail in the next book. And so I think the fact that like he does freeze is realistic to what he's gone through in his life. It sucked and it was painful.
Well, and especially because it was like it was the people he had traveled with on all the different he had this dynamic journey where he got to explore this tension and this civil war more in depth, and then he literally got caught in the crossfire, and it was like, fuck, man, like that's hard. That's so hard.
Yeah, it was painful, and I remember though when like you and Sammy were chatting and like the three of us chat about like, and the baby died. I was like, but he didn't.
Well, I was just like, oh my god, he got taken back. Poor thing. Like he's so traumatized. And you know, again, we're in spoiler sections now, but like by the end, it was like, and then Drahe was okay. I was so happy whenever Drahe and Scar were okay. I was like, yes, which I was kind of confident that they were, because I pretty consistently go by if you don't see them die on the page.
Same, like if it's a fairly like important character, which they were at that point, like you don't see them die on the page or on the screen like in a movie. I'm like, did they really die?
Did they though? Did they though? Yeah, and it was that whole scene like that. It was very well done, because I experienced it emotionally as I was supposed to. You know, it was supposed to be very intense. And I think right in that moment too was whenever I realized that I was going to like Adolin a lot more, because he got Kaladin out of there, and like he did what needed to be done, and he took control of the situation. And I was like, oh, okay, so you're comfortable with a little bit of authority, and that makes me like you more.
For sure. Yeah. I had intended to like, because I was like 1 o'clock my time. I was gonna watch my vlog that I had made to like remember what happened in this book, but guess who didn't do that? Because I had to finish this book for like my soul. So like that's what I was doing until like, and then I did a thing for work, and then it was like 12:10, and then I saw the Discord. I was like, oh no. Here we are, and it's honestly been quite a hot minute for me. So what should we talk about next? Because we need to leave this discussion because I don't remember things until prompted.
So I wanted to kind of see what everybody thought about Shadesmar, because it was really weird for me to see, like, in the first book, we see the Spren, we kind of get a glimpse of Shadesmar through Shallan, and then we kind of get glimpses of it again and again, but I wasn't expecting it to be this, like, whole
Subdimension.
complete society. It was like, wait, you guys exist like people in your own realm, but whenever you cross into our realm, that's whenever you start to forget all the things. So it was really confusing for me trying to situate myself in Shadesmar. It was really weird. It was weird. I didn't not enjoy it, but it was strange.
I agree, and so I'm trying to remember like my initial reaction back like 3 years ago, because that's clearly gonna go well with my current memory abilities. But I do know for sure that it was very jarring, honestly, to kind of be dumped in there like it was, but it honestly kind of, in the way it's like, I don't even know. I can't. My brain is not functioning clearly right now. I was gonna get more coffee before this, but here. But yeah, no. So I think it was pretty jarring, but I did enjoy like the additional layer it added to the world and to the map and all of that, and it makes sense, honestly, that like these fairly sentient beings who like bond with our characters, the fact that they like are their own beings, because like we've gotten to see Syl and stuff, and she's like mentioned that like they didn't want her to go bond again, like she was the only one that survived, everybody else died, she lost her memory. Like that means she had some existence prior to being dumped back into Roshar. So it made sense, and I liked the layer build, but I will agree that it was fairly jarring.
It was jarring, and I was confused as to, because like it seems like, I mean, there's clearly not any communication between the physical realm and the cognitive realm, at least input into the cognitive realm enough so that, because like that guy was willing to get Syl and try to bring her back to her dad, who was also in the physical realm and had already like given permission for her to do this thing. So it was like, but why are you so misinformed? Like, what happened there? Where is there not like clear? There's people coming in and out to like trade shards or gems and stuff, like trade Stormlight. And we saw humans that were like existing in Shadesmar. So it's like there is travel between these realms, but no one knows what's going on either side. So it was kind of weird. It was just weird.
Weird is a good way to put it, for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about Azure for a second, because I got the impression that Azure and Zahel and Sword Nimi, are they characters that we see in Warbreaker? Is that where the connection is there?
I don't believe Azure is, but Sword Nimi is Nightblood, I think, in that. Vasher is his wielder in Warbreaker.
Okay. We get to know Vasher a little more then.
Yes. That is a true statement. Okay. So I think Azure is somewhere else, but I think I don't think at least I didn't recognize that we had met her elsewhere. I will do a quick Google real quick just to make sure, because I've read all the things, so I won't be subjected to spoilers. So
okay, because like, like she departs from everyone sort of abruptly, which was like, it was fine, but it definitely read like a cameo. So I was like, she must be like involved elsewhere or something. And then it also opened up the thought for me of like, okay, well, if they are traveling between these different realms, do these realms exist only on Roshar? Is this like a specific to Roshar thing, or does this cognitive realm, is that like a way that they do like intergalactic travel or something? Because it seems like these people, I mean, like these people are coming in from all over.
Oh shit, he is from.
What?
Okay, my brain did not make this connection. What the heck?
Uh-oh.
Hold please. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so yes, Azure is a character that we meet in Warbreaker. No, they do not have the same name.
Okay.
And you have to like really know what the heck's going on. So, because I clearly didn't catch that, and I've read now Oathbringer twice and Warbreaker as well. So,
that almost makes me glad that we didn't read Warbreaker before going into Stormlight Archive then, because now maybe we've got some context to jump into Warbreaker at some point.
Well, see, I actually finally, because I got all my books sorted for the Cosmere, and I actually filmed the YouTube video about like what I think the best logical reading order is for Cosmere, and it's very different than everybody else's, and everybody's going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? But I'm like, in a way, it honestly incorporates a reread of the Stormlight Archive, because I feel like I started with Stormlight, and I'm glad I did, because I don't think I would have enjoyed the Mistborn series like everybody else did, because it would have pissed me off. Because I'm not here for like the, and I know Vin is awesome, and I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I'm not really here for like the romance and her just like kind of pining and playing like a dummy sometimes. And I'm like, I would not have been kosher with that, but I wouldn't, because I read the Stormlight Archive first. If you're not intimidated by the size of the books and all that, like, it made me appreciate a lot of his other works. Like, I loved Elantris a lot more than I probably would have if I had read it first, kind of thing like that. So, and the way of my reading situation is like, I'm like, read Way of Kings, and then if you really want to, you can read Warbreaker now, but you can also you can finish out like book 1, 2, 3 of Stormlight, then go back and read all this stuff, because you'll still make the connections that way. And then you can't read it. You have to read everything before you read Rhythm of War, basically, because a lot of shit happens in there.
So, okay. Well, we'll see how it goes, because
you'll still notice it retroactively. Like, it won't be that. But basically, you need to read Mistborn Era 1 and Mistborn Secret History before you read Rhythm of War, which y'all have already done, so you're good.
I still need to read Secret History, but yeah, definitely. So Syl and Pattern kind of start circling each other like cats in this book, and I'm kind of curious to see if because we've seen them interact with each other. We've seen that Spren can choose which side of this huge conflict they're going to be on. We've seen that they have their own inner political play within their own realm. So I'm starting to wonder if we're going to see like Syl and Pattern and Ivory and Bliss kind of form a coalition of their own, like if we're not heading towards like we have to politically organize not only in Roshar but also in Shadesmar, so that we can coordinate this effort, because like the Fused are obviously invading on both sides. So that makes me think we're going to start to see more of this interplay between the dimensions.
I honestly can't speak to that, because that's definitely something I've thought about, but I don't know if it's something we've seen yet, or I imagine we will eventually, probably. You can definitely see like there's more interaction. You spend a lot more time in Shadesmar and 4.
Okay. I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah. So it's definitely like something that I think is coming, but I don't know like how for sure that is. It's a good theory though, because I imagine that's going to be a deal for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. To survive and to succeed in battle, and we know that we're getting a large cast reset mostly after book 5, so I don't expect that everybody's going to succeed and stay alive, which is just very sad. But
oh god, I'm not going to be able to take it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a thing. But I imagine that like they're gonna after, just so that way the battle is an even front, they're gonna have to do more of that like coalition building, more of the stuff like that.
Okay. So then also, Catherine says she definitely needs to finish Mistborn now.
I don't think we technically need to finish the whole Mistborn trilogy to do Secret History. You just need to finish the Final Empire, because the Secret History touches on stuff with our friend Kelsier. So, yeah. So, yeah.
I say nothing.
That's I'm sorry I'm eating. I'm just really hungry because I didn't eat before this because I thought I had an hour.
No big deal. I don't care.
But yeah, I'll definitely look up what you should finish reading before you read Mistborn Secret History, just because I might be wrong. Like, don't take me at my word. But
if Sammy's in here somewhere, she might be able to say something on it because she's read it recently.
I would just recommend like paying lots of attention while you're reading Rhythm of War and see what you can. I'm planning on rereading Rhythm of War with y'all because I've missed a whole lot, I can guarantee you, because I read it in like 4 days, so I'm excited to read it.
So we talked a little bit about how we've got this thing with Shadesmar going. So let's talk about Jasnah, because I freaking loved where that all landed. It was like, oh, that's perfect. That's just choice. We kind of started with her coming back from the dead, which was
great.
Yeah, 4 days. That's impressive. That's what I said. I'm like, y'all can't Betty read with none of y'all.
Well, if you do a buddy read, that I like follow the rules, but I had to lend that to like 3 other people because everybody in my family's reading.
Oh, that's cool though.
Pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm literally just kidding. I made a joke with Sammy the other day that it's like we're in another Discord together, and somebody was like, if we're gonna buddy read something together, 2 other people are talking, they're like, if we're gonna buddy read something together, it might be a good idea for me to be a good 4 or 5 days ahead. And I was like, that's exactly what it feels like to buddy read with Sammy, because she always gets to that Sanderlanche before I do, and then she's like, have you got to, like, how far are you? I need to talk about things. And I'm like, hold on. I'm still trying to catch up on the reading from last week. But yes, Jasnah coming back from the dead, and then Navani seeing that, and then losing Elhokar, which we haven't seen her fully process yet. Like, I'm feeling for Mama Navani right now. And then also the fact that she ends up being a monarch is like, oh, it's about to get real. Like, shit's about to get real, because Jasnah is now the queen of Dalinr.
Yes, I think it's a great like moment just in general for because we don't see women kind of in this book have the power that she now has, so that's very, very cool just for like feminist and stuff, feminist energy and things.
Jasnah being the one to break that glass ceiling is very appropriate too, because she's always
else to do it. Jasnah's Jasnah for a reason, and I just generally love her character. Yeah, and Mama Navani gets a whole lot of page time in book 4, and I love it so much. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, it's a great time.
And then it had me questioning, like at the end of the book, I kind of like, I put it down and I was like, wow, that was a lot. So as I was processing it, I was like, what would have happened? And of course, it's pointless to discuss what ifs. Because it's not that way. It has been written this way. This is the arc that we're following. But I was like, man, what if they had just made Jasnah the queen in the first place?
Things probably would have been very different. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what if you hadn't given Elhokar the chance to fuck this up? Maybe things would have gone a little better for everybody. You guys and your sexist ways.
There's a lot of interesting like gender roles in this book, in this series. It still is like we haven't gotten explanations for all of it yet. So I'm just like,
I asked in the full spoilers section of the Cosmere Place because that's like where all our Sander pros hang out, and I was like, listen, I'm in Oathbringer, so I don't want spoilers, but I need to know if the safe hand gets explained. And the answer is pretty much there's theories, but no, not really. And it's like, well, bah!
Hey, Monique, welcome to the chat.
Monique, hello.
No, yeah, I'm still waiting, so we'll find out when we find out, if we find out. I think Brandon has explained it in his. I haven't finished his full Cosmere spoilers live stream video that he did a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I got annoyed with the bird at the beginning, and I wasn't live with it because the bird just was like attacking him for the first like 45 minutes. I'm like, I'll come back to this later.
Oh, I would have totally watched that. That's hilarious.
I was trying to like go to sleep though, so it was just like,
oh, yeah, not the best sleep sounds, probably.
No, it was interesting. So I think that was definitely. I think he apparently discusses some of the like gender things in his books in that live stream, but I haven't gone back to finish it yet. But
yeah,
I imagine we'll get some answers. So does Dalinr start to learn to read in this book, or am I
right at the end? Okay. He tells Navani that he wants to learn to read, and I had the thought of like, she's watching her second husband start to head down this trail that her first husband did, but hopefully in a different way, because like she just doesn't need anything else. I'm like, can you not? Can we just leave Navani alone? She's lost her son.
I'm just gonna comment on this one.
Yeah. So one of the things about this book, there's one big point that really irritated me, but one of the things about this book that I don't know that I necessarily appreciated was this introduction, this random introduction of the Unmade. It was kind of like, why are we doing this? Like, what is this? How is this relevant to literally anything else that's going on other than this Unmade is like, in Urithiru. And then, of course, we see the thrill ends up being something about the Unmade. But I just don't know how I feel about them being introduced as this new antagonist. It's like, we already have so much going on. Why are we doing this?
Right. Yeah, no.
No shit. Like, he was like, I want to learn how to read. And I was like, Navani, no. You've married into the same batshit crazy family again.
Well, that's entirely her own fault. She didn't have to do that.
She did it to herself. But
I think,
man,
what I'll say about that is that her relationship with Dalinr is a lot healthier than like the info we get in the next book about her relationship with Galavar. So I don't think she is experiencing the PTSD in the same way. There might be like a little whiplash, but I wouldn't qualify it like PTSD. Anywho, the Unmade is definitely important. And again, that's my comment. I do wish our poor characters would get a break. Like they're so tired.
Yeah.
And when I mean Kaladin, like they are so tired.
So, and then we also saw that interesting, just like a little snippet of conversation between Dalinr and Navani after he captures the thrill, and she's like, oh, Gavilar had one of these, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why?
When you say capture the thrill, can you explain that a second? Because I forgot what happened.
So the thrill ends up being like this Unmade that is just like, which I'm kind of thinking that it might be the same as a passion, like you have the Thalens who pray to the passions and all these things, and the Unmade is essentially this passion for the fight. And so he takes this big ruby, which is for some reason the only ruby that will work, which I don't understand. They're going to try to get into it in the next book, I think, but I don't get why it was this particular ruby. And he uses that to sort of capture this Unmade / Spren, because that's how we capture Spren, and obviously now that's how we capture the Unmade somehow. So that's...
I don't remember now what you're talking about, and all I will say is yes.
Yeah. So that was all very. I feel like there was I don't remember which point it was in the book, but there was a point in the book where it was just like, okay, we are literally breaking point of view every 3 pages, and then it goes on like that for like this much of the book, and I'm like, what is going on? There's so much happening.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. Yeah.
So I think we should talk about Vinley a little bit too.
Okay.
Because she becomes a radiant there at the end, and she is obviously a Parshindi who is also having a redemption arc. And her Spren is like
Renarin's.
Yeah. And it's like, this is weird. And then poor Renarin. Oh God. That kid, like, I just need to understand him. We need Renarin to have more screen time.
Yes.
It got a little crazy there at the end, and like I didn't mind it, but it definitely was like
a lot.
Yeah, and there were a couple of times where I was like, wait a second, I need to figure out who this person is because I don't remember who you are or why, we're talking to you. I have to go to the bathroom just real fast.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I will agree that the POVs are a lot, and that's the only reason, like, I'll harken back to when I was talking about that. Where to start in the Cosmere video? Like, I have a subsection like, have you ever read adult high fantasy before? And if not, do not start with The Way of Kings, just because, in addition to obviously the length of the book, just the way the world building happens and all of the insanity in terms of the number of point of views is definitely overwhelming and startling to new adult high fantasy readers. I think it was honestly probably the first adult high fantasy I read, but y'all should know already that I'm insane. So I had read Lord of the Rings before that, but I don't think I wouldn't qualify that as the same level of like multiple point of views, I should say, as The Way of Kings is. But yeah. Trying to. There is no other comment, so I'm going to just sit here quietly and wait till Kat gets back. But yeah. Earthbringer is a pretty book. Yeah, I'm excited for y'all to read Words of Radiance with y'all. It's going to be fun. I'm going to actually put stuff in the Discord. I have not had my life together recently, so. Did y'all have a favorite character, Monique and Catherine, in this book that you enjoyed following the most? Oh, you have heard that many people suggest Way of Kings is a good intro into adult sci-fi. Interesting. I do know that sci-fi fantasy are blended a lot, which is why they're in a similar place in the bookstore. And I know for certain that Brandon's going to be expanding into like straight up sci-fi by the time we get to Mistborn Era 4, which is supposed to be a space opera. So that will definitely be interesting. Kat is back. Woo woo. She can't hear me yet, clearly. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
I was about like that video I made that hasn't been posted yet about like where to start with Brando. And then we talked about, well, then I was talking about some stuff, and I just asked them if they had a favorite character that they enjoyed following the most with all of the point of views. So we'll see.
Yeah. Who is yours, do you think? Mine is always Kaladin's, and like I know that's such a heartsick thing to say, but
it's always Kaladin, and I don't know. I fell in love with him as a character, not just like him as a fictional person, but like as a character with like how complex he is and all of that in Way of Kings, and nothing has yet changed my mind.
Right.
We get to spend so much time with him in Rhythm of War. It makes me so happy, even though it's like he's going through like shit, but like he's so happy. So
I just want to protect him. I just need him to be happy. So like we're talking about Kaladin a little bit. So then let me just say that I'm really, really happy that by the end of the book, Shallan and Adolin are married. And I'm like, okay, so you keep it that way and you stay away from Kaladin because y'all don't need to be shipped. Like, don't do it. No.
I honestly ship them as like a friendship throuple, like not actually a throuple, but
that would be interesting for the Vadens.
Yes. Yeah, you have too many favors to give just one. I understand that for sure. Every character just grows on me in different ways, with the exception of Moash.
Moash, yeah. The thing is, Moash tried to grow on me, and then he just turned into a real punk ass there at the end. And it was like, dude, come on. Now I just don't even care. And then we know Kaladin's going to have to be the one to deal with him, which is just, I'm like, man, come on.
No comment.
Ooh, he kills Jezereza, or however you pronounce his name. Like, that was one of the things that happened there right at the end that I was like, oh shit. Like, they're gonna use Moash to do what now?
You continue talking. I'm gonna go also use the restroom, so enjoy your back.
But yes, I definitely agree with you, Catherine, that there are too many to give just one, which is another reason that I really like that we started to see Bridge 4 just as its own perspective in the books, because we got to explore more of those characters like Rock and Teft and Lopin and Drahe. And I really, really appreciated that Sanderson was willing to take that leap, because I know that having a ton of points of view in fantasy can often be very intimidating to the reader, and there's a lot of times where writers just aren't even willing to tackle that, but he did, and I really like that. Yeah. Poor Kaladin. He has dealt with so much in these books. Yes. Yes, he has. I liked that we got to kind of see that he had a romantic fling at one point. Like, he had this romance with someone. And I think the quote was, when are you going to start living for the people who are alive instead of those who are dead? And I liked that we got to see that that's where his whole protect these people mentality came from, was that he had been trying to kind of avenge the dead. And so he tried to move with her advice and try to protect the people who are alive. And I really appreciated that, because that was something about Kaladin's character in this book that I started to get a little bit annoyed with, was the fact that he was just always about like the next person he was going to protect. But I liked that we got to see that that's why his mentality is that way. Is there a particular twist in this book that super caught you off guard, didn't see it coming, there wasn't, that was like an oh my moment? Because I know that there was one for me. Hubby says, screw Kaladin. He has super powers. He can get all the shit piled on him. He doesn't deserve it, though. He doesn't deserve it. He's the nicest one. He's literally bound to a sprint of honor and is the only one who deserves to be.
I also got more coffee.
Oh, man. I wish... Oh, I have coffee. There's coffee in my kitchen. I'm going to go get that in a second.
What character is
let's see. So we addressed Vinley's thing. We talked about... So Renarin. We were talking about Renarin before we did bathroom breaks. And I wanted to touch on him because I'm starting to find him even more fascinating because of all the history that we get about how he's treated by Dalinr and how there is a clear favoritism, and there has always been a clear favoritism between these two brothers, who still remain very dedicated and loyal to one another despite that. And then the fact that Dalinr hasn't done enough, in my opinion, to redeem his relationship with Renarin. Like, there was a point in the book where he was literally thinking about the people that he needed to protect, and Renarin didn't make the list, but Adolin did. And I was like, but no.
There's been memes that it's like when about sorry if you hear a chihuahua barking. That's not my dog, so I'm gonna.
It's okay.
I will make us woken up by it. But yeah, no. So it's there's lots of memes regarding like how
words are hard.
Dalinr.
Yes.
How Dalinr very clearly does have a favorite son, and but it's like one of those like where the person is walking and the girlfriend is looking at the guy, but he's looking at the other girl. Like that's the meme.
Yeah. And I really I thought that maybe whenever we found out that Renarin was radiant, that would change, and then it didn't. And I was like, what's it going to take? You know, like, what's it going to take for Dalinr to pay attention to Renarin and accept that he's going to be an important person?
I agree with you, Catherine, that his storyline does break my heart. And it's so like interesting because of what happens with like that theme of radiancy with Adolin in the next book and how Dalinr reacts to that. Like, so keep an eye out for like Dalinr's real goal with his son that he clearly cares about more.
Yeah.
It's so sad, and like, especially when you like tie that into like the fact that Evie or whatever is really trying to like get Dalinr to acknowledge this other kid. So yeah,
consistently telling him like, you have two sons, and you know, you never see Renarin, and Dalinr continuously calls Renarin the other one. And it was just like, man, you past you is on my shit list because this isn't cool.
But
and then
present him, even though he's himself as clearly not without faults, because he still is ignoring Renarin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I thought it very interesting that we got to see that because Renarin and Jasnah were both the sibling that didn't get the parental attention. Like, I forget if I think it's Jasnah's point of view. She's getting ready to kill Renarin, and then she's like, but all I saw is this kid who used to come to me and cry because his father didn't love him. And it was like, all the tears, ugly cry. Like,
vomits out of motion. Yes, I agree.
Teft. I felt like we saw Teft go in some good directions in this book because he finally decided to accept Spren, and he ended up being like rescued.
What's his Spren's name again?
I don't think we find his Spren's name yet. I don't think we know yet.
Okay.
Because she's just like following him, and he ends up being partially responsible for F's death because he sold his jacket. And then someone came into the Bridge 4 bunker wearing his jacket, and that's how they were able to infiltrate Bridge 4. And that was
very sad.
It was hard to put that together. It was like, oh no. Teft, damn it.
Yeah, Brandon likes to stab at my heart in these movies. Truly.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about Rock's character earlier during like the non-spoiler part, but I wanted to address the fact that I want to see Rock's recovery in the next book because he definitely feels that he has done wrong.
With the killing
killing Amaram.
Which Amaran deserved that.
Yeah, he did. I was happy to see it happen, and then not mad that it wasn't Kaladin who got to kill him, right? It was like I was going to be upset that if Kaladin didn't get to kill Amram, especially after Dalinr was like, yeah, sick him, go get him. We're done trying to be diplomatic with him. And I was like, man, if Kaladin...
It was still very satisfying that it was Rock, for sure.
Yeah. So that was good. But then he was... As soon as you saw that it was Rock who had the crossbow, you were like... Or the... It's not a crossbow, is it? It's a shard bow.
Shard bow, yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oof. Why'd it have to be Rock?
Yeah, that it was definitely like... He definitely was very emotional about that afterwards, and I'll say you get to explore that more. that doesn't just go away. So,
I asked while you were gone if there was a part in the book that was like supremely shocking for anyone, because I think that there was a lot that got dropped on us in this book that was twists and turns. Casey has notes.
I did. So when I was doing my vlog, I was like taking notes while I was reading because I wanted to like give like hella updates.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't like gone and watched that. It's like 40 minutes and you don't have to watch it obviously, but it was entertaining to like, I was planning on rewatching that as my reminder today. But
let's see. Catherine says, I think Rock is going to have an identity crisis after this with his role based on birth order. I agree. And I'm wondering if that's going to lead us into the Horneater Peaks, because that's a place that we still haven't seen on the map.
We haven't obviously mentioned that anything about Lift in this book, but page 440 where Lift talks about Dalinr's tight ass. It's like
it was choice.
There you go. You can read it.
Yeah. She says you have a tight butt and you shouldn't trust an old man with a tight butt.
But what that did was confirm that like 50 or whatever, however old Dalinr is like still keeping his shit together. So I was like, LOL.
That was funny.
I also like, I think a character we haven't talked about and we probably should is Shallan /Veil /Radiant.
Oh man, that girl.
There's a lot in this book, and one of the things that I wrote down was like, Veil likes Kaladin, like likes Kaladin. Yeah. That's always funny to me.
I thought it was really great that she was honest with Adolin at the end, though, about all of that, and that he was like,
okay.
He was kind of like, yeah, we're going to work through this, but also like, we're going to work through this. Like, there's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel here because this is weird.
Yeah. I know that like Shallan's clearly going through some stuff, and I like that they're Brandon Sanderfan's taking the time to address like the multiple personalities, like mental health issues that exist in the universe, because
yes, you can.
So I think that her character is very interesting, and I, on my reread, enjoyed the like personality switching a lot more, because when I first read it, I was like, what the heck is going on? Because when I first read Oathbringer, and like part of the reason it really like the 4-star rating is really stuck in my brain is because I didn't realize that there was going to be more books. So I thought it ended at book 3, and I was like, what the heck? Like nothing was answered. There's still like 4. So I'm so mad. And like, I was really confused by Shallan and them, because I'm like, they didn't unpack any of this. But then like 4 months later, my brother was like, oh, it's going to be 10 books. And I was like, what? So like that's, so anywho, but yeah, I think Shallan's character is very interesting, and I'm excited to keep watching where she goes.
I think it's interesting, Catherine, what you said there, because she does seem to be losing control of her personalities, and the way that she was using them there at the end made me think that we might actually just start seeing them develop as Veil and as Radiant, and then because she's using Stormlight to do this, and we know that Stormlight is captured Spren. I'm wondering if they're actually going to start to become characters, like physical characters within the realm. Casey's doing her dance. That means that she can't say anything.
It just gets wild, is all I will say. So.
So we also haven't discussed Wit in this book, and I feel like we definitely see that he is caught. Like I think we've figured out in this book that he's the one that people were writing letters to and being like, you shouldn't be interfering, like you need to step out of it. And the fact that he is so focused on Shallan is intriguing to me. And we didn't see him have any reaction to the fact that Elhokar is dead. But surely he knows because he's Wit.
Yeah, I'm still like just very intrigued about Wit's final purpose in this series here. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is yet, and I do think that I think there's like genuine like kindness and stuff in him where he's trying to like he focuses a lot on Shallan, I think, because he's trying to help her.
Yeah, she's the one who's sort of like breaking in the moment.
Yeah, so I think that his focus is like valid and that there's a reason for it. Yeah, he's just a very interesting character to read. Mm-hmm. I don't remember a lot of his stuff from this book because it's been a while, clearly. So I think remembering issues, but
well, I ended up tabbing one of the things that he said because I just thought it was really interesting. And he says, the longer you live, the more you fail, and failure is the mark of a life well lived. In turn, the only way to live without failure is to be of no use to anyone. Trust me, I've practiced. So it's like, has he sat on the sidelines before, and that's why he's so intent on interfering right now?
I tabbed that page as important on my notes as well. So
yeah, I definitely want to know more about his backstory too. And like, I understand he's supposed to be the mysterious person in this book, but at this stage, I am feeling like, you know, I need a little more. I need to understand a little bit more about why he's here, or it's going to start to get annoying.
Yeah, we find out more as we go, obviously, but I don't think we're going to find out as much as we want to till probably like book 5, or we even get Wit's own book series because he's supposed to get his own like few books at some point.
Okay,
but yeah, so he's still very mysterious.
There's 3 more things that I tabbed, and 2 of them are Wit, and it says, you know, it's the part where he tells her, you can find the balance, accept the pain, but don't accept that you deserved it. And it's like, okay, so hopefully this is going to be very helpful for Shallan because she, you know, as we saw in her book, Words of Radiance, she clearly takes on a lot of responsibility for things that she has no control over. And we see that a lot in this book too, because she's, you know, bringing food to these people, which then, you know, of course, gets these people hurt, killed, and run out of their already dilapidated homes. So I'm hoping that she takes that to heart and stops absorbing problems that she can't fix. Which, you know, that's just life goals, right? Life goals for everybody.
I think, yeah, Shallan definitely didn't need to hear that for sure.
Yeah, she definitely did. And then he also told her, I see only one woman here, the one who is still standing up. And it was like, ha. So very nice. Very nicely done. And he's sort of being like this father figure to her that she really needs, I think, you know, giving her this encouragement, whereas everyone else is sort of focusing on her role in the world. And
they expect a lot from her, and which doesn't allow her time to actually deal with what she's going through.
And to unpack these things. Yeah. And then that whole interaction with Wit made me remember, like, oh, Shallan is 17. Like, she's a kid, which makes the whole thing with her and Adolin kind of weird in a weird way, you know, but like...
We're not going to unpack that. That's fine.
No, and I'll just say that there is 7 years difference between my husband and I, so like... it could have hit the same way. It definitely didn't, but it was something where I was like, oh yeah, she's still a kid. She's still like not an adult yet. She shouldn't be dealing with all of this. Speak truth to a lot of the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, which further, I think proves my point of he's the meddler. He's the one who's sticking his fingers in the pie and everybody else wants him to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tabbed another part, which was just extremely funny because they're experiencing this like breakdown in Dalinr, and then Kaladin infiltrates the wall guard and then brings the wall guard down. And Adolin says, of course, he's probably their leader now or something, Storming Bridge Boy. And I was like, yes. Because that was my exact thought. Whenever it was like, he starts coming down the way with this big army. And I'm like, of course he's their leader now. That's what Kaladin does.
Yes. Yeah. Did we miss any major characters? I don't really feel the need to touch on Lift because, like, I don't know. She's not my favorite, but like
we kind of talked about Lift more though in the last show because we actually read Edge Dancer.
Yes. She I don't think does a whole lot besides the fact that she's hanging out with Zeth in this one, right?
Yes, which I really liked. They're going to end up being good for each other, I think. It was funny.
I agree.
Yeah. And I actually lied. I had one more thing. That was funny. And it was another Adolin quote. And he's talking to Syl, telling Syl and Pattern that they'll be fine. And then Pattern says, I do not like being stabbed. And Adolin just says, wise words, friend. Wise words. It's like, brilliant. He's coping so well with being in this place that's completely out of his comfort zone. I can't think of any other characters that we've missed talking about. We've talked. Oh, wait. I do remember one more. Adolin's sword. Has now told Adolin her name. And I think that that's going to end up being something damn significant. Yeah. So and it was weird to see that even though she's a dead Spren, she's still present in like this cognitive world. So she must still have something. So like if a Spren dies, does it actually die? Is the thing that brought forward to me was like, but are they dead though?
In a way, they're dead. And again, they spend a lot of time in Shadesmar in the next book, so you find out more about Maya, and then also all the stuff with a lot of the Spren politics and things. It's very interesting.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the next book.
It's so good.
And I'm trying really hard to go ahead and start Dawnshard today. I know that Sammy started it, but she's kind of like, I don't know, I just want to move into Rhythm of War because she didn't really remember Risen, who is, I guess, the person we're following a little bit in Dawnshard.
Love is there too, which is fun.
Okay.
I don't know, honestly. So I think Dawnshard is like cool and it's a good like addition to the world, but I may have missed something, but I think it's going to come more into play like after book 4. But you do see a couple like that. Risen is in book 4 a little bit, but it's not like you have to read it. And I know because of when Brandon Sanderson released it, he's like, reading Rhythm of War doesn't spoil anything for Dawnshard, and reading Dawnshard doesn't spoil anything from Rhythm of War. They just like add to each other. So I think you could probably read Rhythm first, but yeah. I read them I was reading Dawnshard while I was finishing Oathbringer, so.
So if we don't remember any other characters that we need to talk about, then I'm going to go ahead and say, like, the biggest thing that bothered me about this book is that whenever it came out that humans weren't native to this planet, everybody was just like, oh, okay, that must be true. We're going to go ahead and just assume. And I was like, but wait, no, what the fuck? No, you should be you should be questioning this more.
Yeah.
This is not a thing that you should just easily accept that you're an alien to this planet. You've been here for thousands and thousands of years. Like, you were all born on this planet. So why are you so easily accepted?
The humans were the real desolation. The
Yeah.
one. That was one of the that was the big shocking thing for me. Because I honestly straight up forgot that. Like, I forgot. Just totally forgot. So I was like, what? And it does make sense logically, because the humans don't look like any of the scraggly rock related beings on the rest of it. So it's kind of like, what do you mean you didn't remember that you weren't like, what do you mean? What you mean? And they kind of do just brush it off, but
they do, and that's the part that bothers me about it. And it's almost like Sanderson used Yasna as the person to disseminate that information, because she's so unquestioned in society. Like, nobody looks at Yasna Kholin and is like, you're wrong, unless they're talking about religion. So I was kind of like, but why though? Like, why are we not, like, why is this a place where suddenly everyone is like, you know what? We're going to go off and digest this on our own. You know, it's like, but wait, no, stop. We need to talk about this.
That builds for like what happens in the next book, though. So no comment officially for me, but it just definitely, I think it puts things in perspective more for the reader than for the people there, because the people that have been there for thousands of years are now like, well, I'm sorry, our ancestors like
dominated your planet
and like caused all these problems for y'all, but we're here now and we can't really do anything about that. And we don't want to die either, just because our ancestors suck doesn't mean we suck. I mean, the people do suck. Everybody sucks. It's fine.
Yeah. Everybody sucks. This is fine.
It's one of those things. So
yeah. So I like your interpretation here, Catherine, because you're right. Once they are summoned as the Blade, they kind of like, they start screaming, and so they do clearly have some kind of, just a second, please, consciousness still there, but it just, I guess it rose a lot of questions for me because stop. Sorry, children. Because we had also heard that Syl's like brothers and sisters are all dead, and that's why she was being like so coveted and protected, because she was the last one. So it's like, well, but if they die and then they just wander around like zombies in this other world, is there not something? Clearly we don't have all the information there, but it was strange.
Definitely.
But yeah, that was the big thing for me that irritated me, was that it was brushed off. And then while we were talking about Lopen earlier, I noted his like hardened nails. Like, Herdazians have these like super hard nails, and it makes me wonder, like, is that evolution of humans over time, or was there some sort of weird breeding thing that started happening? Did humans have hard nails in some parts of this other world that they destroyed? Like,
questions still to be answered, I think. So
yes. And then they also seem to point out that the Shin are sort of more human-like. You know, that's where all the horses and chickens are. And they've been living sequestered out on their own. And we also see that Szeth is going to be, that's like his quest for the next book, I think he mentions. And so I'm wondering if I'm wondering what's going to come of that, because we're going to start seeing this clear breakdown, I think, of why maybe the Shin are so secluded.
All good things to ponder as you read it.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to discuss. If anybody in the comments, you know, if you have something that you want to hear talked about, or you just want to discuss with us, please do, because we come here to drive discussion, not control the discussion. So give me just a second. I need to mute my microphone.
Yep. That's all I have really at this point. But so unless, Catherine, do you have anything else? Casey's just taunting us now. Yes, I am taunting. And I'll be right there with you.
I agree. Just sipping her coffee and looking innocent over there.
Yeah.
So, we didn't talk about Ash and Talana Town.
No.
Crazy Herald.
The crazy, yeah. I can't. Yeah.
Tanalana or something. But they showed up at the final battle. Ash and Tanalana showed up at the final battle, and then all of a sudden they just weren't. They were there, and then nothing else really happened with them. And I'm like, what? Read it back in October and having a hard time remembering. I'm sorry, I'm so slow. I know everybody wants these discussions to move faster, and I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I've got 4 kids that I'm virtually schooling, so it's just like literal chaos here all the time.
Yeah, I live alone and I'm tired all the time.
I'm flipping back through the parts to look at like the perspectives and stuff to see if there's other things, but I think we've pretty much covered everything that we can. I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day, which is fun, but
which we shouldn't, because Casey's gonna actually spoil something.
Casey's like, I have to get off the camera now. I'll just mute my microphone. Wait, there was another. So let's see. Close out. Who grew on you the most in Oathbringer?
Well, I think Elokar is the one that's supposed to grow on you the most.
Yeah.
So that way you can be totally destroyed emotionally when he dies. And yeah.
Yeah, I read this book and one more in January, and like I'm started a third one, but my January wrap up is going to be like 5 minutes long because I just haven't gotten any reading done. Homeschooling, I commend you for that. It's hard. I homeschooled for about 1.5 years and then decided that I was miserable and didn't want to do it anymore. Sent the kids back to school. Pandemic hit. We started virtually schooling, and I was like, but wait, I said I didn't want to do this anymore. I sent them back to you.
Well, here we is in the world.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so now it is what it is, and we just all sit around enjoying playing video games, and I ignore scoffs and eye rolls from the people in my head who think I'm being a bad mom. We're staying sane, okay?
Zandy is... I heard this thing about the pandemic, and it was like, you're not trying to be functional at working from home or schooling from home or all of these things. You're trying to be functional in a world that you can't control anything. And if you're staying sane, that's all that matters. Like, you're doing your best. So I think you're doing just fine.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are kind of clinging to that idea that, like, you know, we're like, this isn't normal. Please don't let this be the new normal. Like, we need this to not be normal. We need to go back.
I should be getting a vaccine soon, which is exciting.
Yes. These other strains kind of have me stressed out, I'm not gonna lie, but
Moderna has been proven to do the good vaccine magic on the aggressive South African and UK ones. So you get to have worse side effects when you get the vaccine, but then you don't get the bad COVIDs. I think the other ones are probably fine as well. They just haven't proved that yet. So
yeah, there's still so much research out there about it. And I know that here in central Kentucky, the Moderna vaccine is being distributed to teachers throughout February. So hopefully maybe by, like fall, we might have some sense of me not having everyone at home all the time.
Not having that together, so I'm just like, anywho, but
yes.
Yeah, that's all I have on the book, though.
Yeah, I think that's all I have too. Let's see, let me pull up the schedule real fast because we are moving into Rhythm of War today, today I think we're supposed to be technically moving into Dawn Shard, but we're reading Rhythm of War throughout February and March, and then the live show for that is going to be on April 3rd, and I promise that I will remember that it is actually on April 3rd and not some other random day that I put in my head.
Hey, we figured it out. Everything's fine.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm good. If everybody else is good, then I'll see you again on April 3rd. And if you're in the Discord, we'll see you for some reading sprints.
Yep. It was great talking about the book, though. I didn't forget that you were in a different time zone.
Casey and I are collabing on something fun, though. For February and March, we are going to be reading Steinbeck together. February, we are reading
King Arthur one.
King Arthur, and like the King Arthur and the Deeds of His Noble Knights, or something like that.
For doing East of Eden, which is my favorite book ever. It's really depressing. Aren't you excited to read?
You know, I'll just be sure to plan a lot of light reading in March, a lot of like happy reading. But yes, we're going to be doing. I have read King Arthur and the Deeds of His Noble Knights, or whatever that's called, by John Steinbeck. And then Casey has read East of Eden. And then we're flipped. I have not read East of Eden. She has not read King Arthur. So we're going to buddy read them together and then have some sort of a discussion on our channels. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes, probably towards the end of each of the months, but
yeah.
That's
that would be cool.
I read as well. That way, because I'm trying to read a lot of shit right now, and it's not going well. I'm behind schedule. It's fine.
I'm behind schedule too. I feel you. I think everybody. I've noticed a lot of people hitting reading slumps, and I think it's because we are just kind of like coming up on that 1 year of the pandemic mark, and everyone's fucking tired. You know, we're just like over it.
I haven't been hitting a reading slump necessarily. I'm just so busy with work and my eyeballs hurt after that. And so I just like stare at the wall and then I go to bed.
Right. Yeah. Stare at the wall and listen to the chihuahua in the background. I too am going to do my best to stay on schedule with this one. I said it with Oathbringer, and I always tend to pull it out right at the last minute, but man, I would really love if I didn't have to do that this time. Because I'm pretty sure Rhythm of War is the longest of the 4.
Yes, it is, but there's not really a Sanderlanche in the book. The whole book is like a Sanderlanche.
Oh, okay. So, I can handle that.
There's a few like choppier sections that are a little like the pacing is a little weird, but for the most part, when you're following the majority of the characters, it's going to just be high stress the entire time. So you should be very excited about reading most of the book.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And then we will see you guys for another live discussion on April 3rd. Thank you so much for coming and geeking out about Sanderson with us. You know that we have a ton of fun doing it, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.